Today we're talking about this.
Ryan, you have to lift your hand. Show what you're talking about. Yeah.
This.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
We have two things today, the iPhone 17 Pro Max and this new lens for it. We look at the new iPhone every year, but this year it's a bit different. I only want to look at two main things, OpenGate and ProRes RAW, mainly because these are two massive upgrades that let us step more into a fully cinematic image with an iPhone. This is massive, and so are the file sizes, but having this in the phone takes the image to another level and gives you some extra control in post with being able to shift your color space and ISO after the fact. To use ProRes RAW on the phone, you do need an external SSD. I've been using this one, a little 1TB SSD from Crucial that has worked great, and I got it for $90. But then we have that second feature, which has been a bit of a buzzword lately. OpenGate recording uses the camera's full sensor area, which is typically 4:3, and on the iPhone 17 Pro, that's what we have here. Pretty much a 4:3 sensor on the front camera. When you're shooting 16:9 here, which is really 17:9, you're cropping in on that sensor, but in OpenGate, you get all the goodness. And there's three main reasons to love this. First, you get that 4:3 aspect ratio if you want it, which just gives you more creative options. Second, if you want to go to standard 16:9, you can still shoot OpenGate while framing for 16:9, giving you some room at the top or bottom for reframing or flexibility for 9:16 social cuts in the end. And third, it lets you do proper anamorphic, which is what we have the lens for. This is the 155 anamorphic lens from Freewell. I have the 133 here as well, so we'll look at them both since I love them both. And these are the world's first interchangeable anamorphic lenses for smartphones, having the ability to use 3 different flare in one, which I'll get to that in a minute. Now, Freewell did sponsor this episode, but as always, if I don't love it, we don't talk about it. To get the lens on the phone, I have this Freewell case that has threads for mounting over the 24mm and 100mm lenses. So you just screw it on here, then you have this small Allen key to loosen these screws here, so you can position the lens perfectly for your camera since it needs to be set correctly so that you aren't getting any warping, which you can see what that looks like here as I spin the lens on the camera. There's a level up top, but someone else had a great idea with turning on the grid on the Blackmagic camera app and lining your lens flare up to that, since if it isn't perfectly leveled, your flares will be at an angle like you see here. But once I have it set, I tighten down and won't have to do it again. I'm also shooting a lot outside, which means I'll either need to have an insanely fast shutter or need NDs, and I don't have NDs for this lens, so I just taped this variable ND on that I do have, and it worked, so get off my back. But the 155 squeeze is so wide that I'm seeing it on the edges, so I'll have to punch in just a touch to get rid of that. But again, we do have the 155 and the 133, and we can shoot in both OpenGate and 16:9 for different looks with each. First, let's look at the standard 16:9 right out of the camera, no lens on. Then when we shift to OpenGate, still no lens, you see it extends the top and bottom with the same horizontal field of view. And I do love this aspect ratio. It has an entirely different feel than the anamorphic. With 4:3, it's really all about the subject. It feels really intimate to me. Whereas if we throw on our 155 lens, we get a much wider shot that brings a lot more of the environment in. And of course is what we're used to with big cinematic films, which I am switching between these aspect ratios inside of Blackmagic's free camera app. So with the lens on, I'm selecting ProRes RAW, OpenGate, and Apple Log 2. Then over here, I can set my D-squeeze right in camera as well. And I love this look. It's surprisingly wide with almost a fisheye look to it. Lots of distortions on the edges and other imperfections that if you watch the show, you know I'm a huge fan of. I've never been very big on perfectly sharp and characterless lenses. I want some imperfections and life in my image, and this gives me a lot of that. Another cool feature here is that you have this sliding glass that will give you different color flares, blue, neutral, and gold. For me, I don't think I'll use the gold much, but the blue and neutral are great. I tend to lean more toward the blue since that feels like old school Hollywood to me. I guess it just depends on the situation. But jumping back to aspect ratio, with the 155 on and set to OpenGate, we're getting an aspect ratio of around 2:1. But if we shift over to 16:9, we're getting an ultra wide image of around 2:9, which immediately makes me think of Westerns. And I don't see me using it very often, but it is a very cool and stylistic option to have, which is something I love about all of this. While shooting on the iPhone, you have everything from 4:3 all the way up to an ultra wide image like this. But again, we do have that 133 lens as well, which is giving us less stretch here. So shooting open gate with this one gets you around 1.85, and when we flip over to 16:9, which again isn't really 16:9, it's 4224 by 2240, which is 17:9, but with the 133 adapter on, we'll get right around 2.5. So we're getting a nice spread of aspect ratios between the two adapters, with the 155 giving us more of a distorted, wide sort of look. I am loving the image overall. The style it's giving my iPhone footage honestly makes using the iPhone a really compelling option for a lot of things now. It's got a great old school film look, sort of 90s indie film, or at times, thanks to how wide it is, it's giving me nostalgic 90s commercial vibes too. I did live on the 24mm lens most of the time, since you can't jump to 48mm unless you're off RAW, but when I did that, the quality dropped too much for it to be worth it. I did use the 100mm a touch as well, but the quality dropped enough there for me to stay away as well. I'm also using my recent secret weapon for all of these shots, and that's this new plugin called Filmbox. The film aesthetic that this brings, and as easily as it brings it, is my current favorite thing. It used to be Resolve only, but recently they released a Premiere plugin as well, and I'm sure I'll do an episode where I dive more into it because I love it. But if you are looking for a new film look plugin, definitely check this one out. But another pro to all of this is how simple it is to shoot on the iPhone. It's so small and light, easy to put anywhere and move around to find different interesting shots. I didn't go with a cage here either, just a simple magnetized rig from Freewell, and it did the job fine. And the combination of ProRes RAW, open gate, and the Freewell adapter is giving me far more exciting and post-friendly image than I've ever had out of the iPhone. It's all grading really nicely, and like I said, the detuning I'm getting from the adapter is stripping a lot of that digital ugliness away. But there is one big downside to shooting RAW and open gate, and that's no stabilization. So with all these shots that I'm going handheld with, you'll see those annoying micro jitters. Now, of course, I can add a gimbal into the mix, but I didn't want to. I like to let things stand on their own to find their limitations. But I did find in post that if I put the smallest amount of stabilization on these clips, it left the handheld look, but it took out those annoying micro jitters. But you do have to have that in mind as you shoot, because certain big moves can cause some noticeable warping. But overall, I was able to move around just fine and still get a solid end result. But that's it, two adapters giving us a bunch of options when paired with the new edition of ProRes RAW and open gate in the iPhone. But what do you think? Do you like this look? Is it not for you? I think some people prefer a more clean look, which you can get with these adapters as well, like you see here. I just personally like to go out of my way to add what I feel are interesting elements to the image. If you want to try the lenses out for yourself, we have links below for that. And if you want them, use the coupon code FilmRiot10 for 10% off the first 30 days after the release of this video. But let me know what you think below. Of course, links to everything in the notes. And as always, if you dug the episode, do us a solid, like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know when we put up more videos. And until next time, don't forget to write, shoot, edit, repeat.
See you later. Talk.